himself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Nuoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Hay deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
Say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down in towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pike going to have a go at Werrell. Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
On to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's allowed to have fun. Yeah,
it's all about the entertainment. So I hope
everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching. And Burger King machines off into the grass a little bit there. Is that really bunching up now?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Willow Springs International Raceway for the Tanso Racing Group TH Jordan GR86 Round 8 here at Willow Springs. It's going to be myself, Bradley Dalton, along with my good friend Tom Cairns, that is going to be bringing you the action here today. And I am excited for this one. It's a just under 4-kilometer track, nestled out in California, and it should bring plenty of good racing here today. There we go. Let's get you that overlay up and going. And now let's talk about, while qualifying is underway, let's very, very quickly touch on the scores on the doors as they stand. In the pro group, it is Scott McFall at 589 points, Ryan Dudley at 514, Daniel Wareham at 510, Elaine McCain at 446, Mark Brown 381, Lee Rylands 255, and 54 points for Nilton Carvalho. And then from there, let's go ahead and touch on our pro-ams as they sit, as we watch Lee Rylands showing this track has been a struggle. It's Scott Brown, Neil Kennedy, Dan Forrester, P123, with Shane Ballinger, Peter Duke rounding out your top 5, and there's a huge gap from there all the way down the rest of the field in the pro-ams. And then we touch on the AM class here, and it is Scott Bell at 421 points, Stephen Parker Hamilton 411, JT Johnston at 410, Anthony Jones at 405, Terry Atkinson 396, Adrian Hadfield 369, Tim Walters at 351, Stuart Brierley 261, Michael Walters 206, and Michael Elms at 161. So pretty close battle going on in the AMs as well. Plenty of action to come at us here today from what is a challenging Willow Springs here. But of course, it's not just myself. It is Tom here with me today, as he was last week, and as we go again, and as we continue to watch Lee Ryland show us the difficulties of this track. Good evening, Tom. How are you?
Hello, Brad. Hello, everyone that's watching, wherever you are around the world. If you're supporting any of the drivers, of course, we do wish them all the best here as well. We are in the middle of qualifying around this Willow Springs circuit, first opened in 1953. It's not that steeped in history, in all honest with you. I mean, you can tell by how the circuit's sort of built, perhaps with the sort of lack of infrastructure. It feels like an old school track where you see all the caravans nearby. It's not quite the glamour that you tend to see around Las Vegas or in Monaco or wherever that may be. But nevertheless, the drivers are willing to get on with it, with the circuit as it is. I mean, the way I look at the circuit layout, it almost looks like a water pistol when you look at it, doesn't it, from the angle you're looking at. But the drivers know their way around this track. They've had some practice beforehand for around about half an hour, and we are coming towards the last 5 minutes of qualifying, and it's McFall who's the fastest. Scott McFall ahead of Mark Brown, with Dan Wareham in third place, and it's Scott Brown who has been able to mix it out with the pro drivers last week in Long Beach, is in fourth place, with Ryan Dudley in fifth position. Terry Atkinson, the fastest of all those so far in the AMs. This circuit then, Brad, any memories stick out to you about this place?
Not a lot off the top of my head. It's a track that I know I've ran, I know I've competed on, but it's a track that I don't know a lot about. So the big thing I relied on was I was looking at how the drivers were doing beforehand, and I will tell you right now, some of our drivers were posting some pretty interesting screenshots of their attempts here in practice. There's a porta potty there just off of the side of the timing table in that shot specifically that you can see, and some of the drivers were finding their way around to that several times through. So I think that's going to be a big problem for everyone tonight, is just keeping it on the track throughout our heat and our main event.
Yeah, you can just see drivers going down the hill there. That's who we're focusing on here. It is Mark Brown. Yes, there are two Browns in the field, but one's got an E at the end of it, the other doesn't. Mark Brown we are focusing on, just going down the hill towards Monroe Ridge, and here's heading through Wings Leg and the sweeper and turn 9 to finish off the lap. It's safe to say there's plenty of open for taking opportunities, a lot of grass and perhaps dust to sort of use if you make a mistake, whereas in Long Beach you didn't have that, because obviously Long Beach is a street circuit. These drivers are determined to battle it out around here and put on a show for the fans who are watching. If you are watching live, or if you're watching it on catch up, do make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope to increase the number of subscribers over 2,000 and counting. If you are not one of them, then do please make sure you press that subscribe button, and do get involved in the live chat if you ever so wish to do. Sorry if I feel like I'm stealing your job a little bit there, Brad, but it's nice for the fans to sort of know about that it's not just A League. You know, it is broadcast live, and we want to do our best to get the attraction it deserves, because, you know, obviously James Parfitt, the man behind the channel itself, works ever so hard to get this to where it is today. Been around for a couple of years with this channel, and it's going from strength to strength.
Yeah, and it's kind of unique too with the GR86 class. I can't really think of many other big name GR86 leagues that exist and are out and, you know, are very successful pulling in this amount of drivers that continue to go through. So definitely want to show the love and support for them as well. Qualifying is winding down. 2.5 minutes left to go here as we stand, and Ryan Dudley has now found his way up another position up there, and that is his qualifying done. So Daniel Wareham, the last driver out to finish qualifying as it stands, and he is almost done here. It looks like he is running another lap just for fun as it stands, and we continue through. And, well, I don't know that the GR86 was designed to go off-road, but I tell you what, it doesn't do a bad job of it. It's actually kind of impressive.
I don't know whether Daniel Wareham is doing a little bit of Dakar by the looks of it there, but yeah, that tells you about how much runoff there is around this place. And so the barriers are they're not too far away, but they feel like a long way away, don't they?
They really do feel like it, and I like the fact that you can drive all the way through this track like that. Sir, let's very quickly, I do want to replay that because that was impressive. That was very impressive from Dan Wareham. Qualifying is done, ladies and gentlemen, for the record, but I have a feeling this is not the first nor the last time we will see this particular move done tonight. And I do want to reiterate that damage is off in the GR86 League for this season. They have just announced Season 11 will start on the 15th of September and will continue forward here on the JP Broadcasting Network. So there's a couple of things that I know they're discussing changing. I do not know what is changing and what is not, and I cannot guarantee anything for you. But I do know that there are some things. One of those might be, and you didn't hear this from me, but one of those might be the damage model being turned on for the race. So we'll see if that actually happens. But waiting on the qualifying timer to end here, Tom. And yeah, pretty exciting to hear the next season coming up. And it looks like our drivers are pretty well settled in their positions.
And so the drivers should prepare for the challenge of having the damage mod on. I think last week in Long Beach, you could sort of say it was a good decision to have the damage mod off because there was just too many drivers hitting the barrier, making overtakes that didn't quite work and ended up running into other drivers. So they'll be preparing for the new challenge that lies ahead of them at the beginning, well, around about midway through next month. The qualifying session has officially ended, so I'll let you run down on the grid.
And as we pull up the grid here, it is going to be our wonderful friend. Let's get this looking the way it should. So as we pull up the grid here, Scott McFall, Mark Brown, P1, P2, Neil Kennedy, and Scott Brown are only two AMs today, starting P3 and P4 respectively. Daniel Wareham, Ryan Dudley, Stephen Parker Hamilton in P7, Elaine McCain in P8, Lee Rylands in P9, Terry Atkinson in P10, Adrian Hadfield, Sean Atkinson, P11, P12 as they sit. From there, it is going to be Michael Vester, Tim Walters, Michael Walters, Scott Bell, Curtis Matthews. I do want to apologize because last week I had him in as Chris Matthews, Stuart Brierley, and John Kinney are 19 drivers that are starting here today. Should be plenty of good action. The drivers get on the grid. We get set up. We get ready for the 5 flags, and we're just waiting here slowly but surely as we wait on everyone to take the grid and get ready for this race.
We're just waiting for a few more cars, waiting for the pole sitter, Ryan Dudley. And I think there's one more driver that's yet to get on. That will be Scott Bell, who's racing in the AM class for the Tanso team. Those in Tanso are Scott McFall, Neil Kennedy, and Scott Brown. but we're just waiting on Dudley, McFall, and Bell to join. Bell's joined, so we're just waiting on 2 more to join, and then we will get this first race underway. There'll be 2 races, one that is 20 minutes long, the other being 25. I'll let Brad take the start as everyone is now on the grid.
And as we get our grid set up here, it is going to be McFall, Kennedy, and Parker Hamilton that are going to be running off our lead here. And the green flag is out. And these GR86s, they don't get away like Formula One cars, and nobody's getting away like a Max Verstappen or a Lando Norris here. But it is going to be Scott McFall and Mark Brown, Scott Brown, Neil Kennedy getting away very, very well here in the front. Look at there, that's the 269. That is Neil Kennedy there trying to go around the outside if he can make it work, and he is going to sit a little bit outside. We talked about Long Beach being very narrow, very technically challenging. This is wide, plenty of runoff, plenty of opportunities as we sit, and it is going to be Neil Kennedy up the inside here of, that is the 373. That is Wareham wanting to get a pass done, and he's going to be looking around here. Now he dives up the inside hard on the brakes. Neil Kennedy to the outside, and Brown will have his way through, or Wareham will have his way through on Kennedy, and now he has the gap between Brown and Kennedy. Wareham there, and so far everyone kind of holds on and keeps their way forward.
Yep, everyone behaving themselves and making their way towards downhill before the right-hander of Monroe Ridge. And then we've got Wingsleg, the sweeper, and turn 9, of which to get through before the first lap is out. I don't know for certain how many laps we are going to get. I didn't quite pick up on the times during the course of qualifying, but I'm sure we are looking at around, definitely in the double figures in terms of number of laps. But McFall and Brown maintaining their positions at the front in the pro class, with Mark Brown in third, or Scott Brown in 3rd place ahead of Kennedy, who has just lost another position, or about to Ryan Dudley.
And somebody running off there in the background, that is going to be, it appears, that was Michael Vester running off track back in the background that we saw. And there is the pass done from Ryan Dudley on Neil Kennedy. Ryan Dudley, a driver with a lot of pace. We'll see how that goes. Up in the front, Scott Brown and McFall are going to be battling here, and it is going to be Brown to the inside, McFall to the outside. Scott Brown trying to hold that line around, and McFall trying to just hold that outside line, wants to stay right there in the mix for comfort in that number 371 as we go through hard on the brakes to the inside, side by side. A little bit of a tap there, and nothing too hargy-bargy as they go through again. McFall to the inside, continues through, or I'm sorry, that is actually going to be Brown to the inside, continues through, and now it is settled out. So for a moment, Brown had the lead, but McFall was able to fight back, and I have a feeling that's going to be something we see over and over and over again here across this 20-minute heat and our 25-minute feature.
The top 2 going side by side throughout a lot of the lap there. I think we're going to see a little bit more in the near future. Mark Brown on the tail of Scott McFall, heading towards the sweeper for the 2nd time in this race, looking to see the outside. Does McFall know that he's there? I'm sure he does by now. But Brown has to slot back in before going onto the pit straight. There was just no room around the outside. And there you can see someone running wide there. That'll be the 5th place driver, Ryan Dudley, who's able to rejoin without causing any drama as he sets his sights on Scott Brown for 4th position overall. But the top 2 have changed positions again, with Mark Brown taking the lead from Scott McFall as he runs wide on the exit turn number 1 of the Castrol corner.
Yeah, I can tell you that Mark Brown is not going to want to do that too much as we continue around here. McFall in P2. And then, of course, Ryan Dudley, we'll have to keep our eyes on him, the very, very fast, feisty driver that he is. He is going to continue to put some pressure and try to make moves. And we see there he, again, is looking for a move, not able to make it stick. But he continues on. Big spin there from Mark Brown. Mark Brown now spinning, catching up. Serpentine effect. Oh, that is the 315 going down. That is Dudley. And that is Brown back in the background that are gone. And Adrian Hadfield has found his way off into the hills. What in the world just happened there? Let's get a quick replay of that one, and we'll go up to the chopper cam here, see if we can't find exactly what happened, because it looks like that is just a solo spin on Mark Brown. A couple drivers go defensive. Unfortunately, a few other people get caught out, and it just kind of piles up.
Yeah, Brown kick-starting that, and McFall did very well to avoid him going up the hill there, and everyone just dodging their way through. And we're looking at a replay here of Ryan Dudley just rejoining the race, and you can just see one of the drivers just coming back onto the circuit, which has to be Hadfield, isn't it?
It was, and then it looks like there was another moment further ahead. We'll see if we can catch what happened with this one, because this is Mark Brown yet again going in. Oh! And getting in another incident and taking a couple more drivers with a couple more big moments, and hold the brakes, man. Oh. So Mark Brown finding his way all the way down to P15. I do want to get one more look at this one here, because that is Terry Atkinson that went around with him, and Lee Ryland's getting caught up as the driver that got tapped, and then that's the number 86 involved as well of Michael Vester. So many drivers getting involved in that, and well, that's the danger of close racing here, Tom, is that sometimes you have those close moments and it just produces problems, and Stuart Brierley has had a problem of his own yet again where he's went off track.
Yeah, he went straight into the wall, did Brian, lost the front bumper. I think it might be simulated damage, but surely that car won't be running as well as it was before he went off. It looks like driving standards are beginning to fall apart a little bit here, because there's too many drivers rejoining unsafely back onto the racetrack and taking other drivers with them.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is when you get in moments like that, you got to hold the brakes, you got to keep yourself together, and you can't just sort of let go of the brakes and let it roll and spin. And unfortunately, sometimes that results in this this sort of incident where we've had a 10-car battle be shaped down to a couple of battles here. McFall and Wareham battling up front. This is McCain and Kennedy battling it out here. Lane McCain going for P3 overall and P3 in class, and Kennedy just wants P3 overall here as we go through. And he's, of course, got Mr. Neil Kennedy for company just behind, up in the front. They continue side by side, and that is going to be Mr. Stephen Parker Hamilton right on the back of them as well, and that is the leader in the AM class. He's got 3 seconds on Atkinson, but lots of mixed class racing here today, a lot more than we have seen, and a lot of mixes of cars all the way through. You see up front, just off your shot, McFall and Wareham have opened up by half a second here through the middle part of the lap, and these 3 guys are going to stay just nice and close behind.
Yeah, just settle into the race now. There's still some way to go yet. 13 minutes of this race still to run. We're on lap number 5. McFall and Wareham are on their own, fighting for the race lead and for the Pro Class win. And it looks like Kennedy's on course for the Pro-Am win. The only other Pro-Am driver in the race is Scott Brown, who's aiming to bounce back, try and make his way through on the AM drivers before he gets onto the rear of Kennedy. And you can see coming around to complete their 5th lap now. And you just see they're still settling into this one. And McFall's under threat here from Dan Wareham as they come towards Castrol Corner.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be the chance. If Wareham wants to get him, it's going to be here. He looks at a peek up the inside. He doesn't make the move, but he is there. And I think McFall knows he's there, as Scott McFall trying to just hold on to the lead at the moment. And continue forward as he can here. 12 minutes left to go. Action aplenty. And we see here again, Wareham just consistently there in the back. I do want to jump a little further back because Ryan Dudley is trying to charge his way back through the field. He's going to at least be wanting to get to P6, because if he can get up to P6, that will, of course, invert him up into pole for the main event. As we go down, and Ryan Dudley deep on the brakes here. He's going to chop the nose of Walters. He gets the pass done, and now ahead is Brown and Bell side by side. And Ryan Dudley says, you know what? I want in on this action. I can get this pass done. He's going to dive it up the inside if he can. Don't take it 3 wide. He thought about it. He didn't do it, but we continue nonetheless. But Ryan Dudley is forcing the issue forward. He's trying to get this pass done as quickly as he can, and it looks like he may clear P8. Will he clear P7?
Yeah, well, he was banging wheels with Scott Brown there, and they need to leave each other alone if they can and stop running into each other. Otherwise, we're going to end up seeing another concertina collision, and thankfully Brown leaves Dudley's space into the sweeper before the last corner. And now they're heading towards the line back onto the pit straight. A lot of runoff, as you can well see here at Willow Springs. And it looks like Briley is in the pits with a problem, and it looks like his race could well be done.
Yeah, it looks like Brierly has called it quits there into the pits. Up ahead, we have McCain and Kennedy, who have swapped positions around a little bit and swapped back a little bit. And I do want to jump back. Plenty of action all over the track to try to keep up with, because now you've got McFall and Wareham here. A couple tenths of a second separating them. They're closing the gap, and then they're going through. Daniel Wareham just very slowly trying to find a way to snake his way through. I do want to look back again. Scott Brown under pressure by Walters and fighting through and pressuring Bell if he can get his way through. Hard on the brakes, deep on the inside. The GR86 sticking with him there, doing what he wanted. Both drivers run a little wide, and well, there is. And now we don't want to miss this battle, because there is Mr. Elaine McCain taking his car off-road and allowing Stephen Parker Hamilton through. So in the top 4, you have all 3 of your class leaders, and McCain deciding to take his GR86 to go, I was going to say mow some grass, but there's no grass here at Willow Springs. This is desert, so level some sand. Sure, that works.
Yeah, well, it looks like he went for a detour, in all honesty, and now we've got a battle for the lead again between Warren and McFall. McFall's the one that's trailing, so can he decide to go for it into the Castrol corner? It almost looked like he was trying to go around the outside there, but there's just no room, and yeah, he sensibly waits back for another opportunity, and he's going to have plenty of those opportunities throughout this race, given the nature of this course.
There is plenty of challenges to be presented here. McFall doing very well to just stay there in the mix with Wareham, and he knows that he's got past for a moment, but it's not going to be total. A little earlier, dab on the brakes there as they come into the uphill section here, and they go through, and you see Wareham getting a little swirly there. He's trying to look to see where McFall is, make sure that he can keep McFall behind. We continue around yet again, and McFall is going to have a run as we go downhill here. Will it be enough for him to make the difference? That is, well, that's the $1,001 question. Let's ride on board with Scott McFall for a moment as we see if he can set this pass up. He's going to be looking for the pass. He's got a nose up, and he's going to be right here on the inside, which is exactly where he is going to want to be as they come down. Side by side they go. Where they stop, nobody knows. And, well, at the moment through the sweeper, he's got the inside line. Scott McFall, your new leader as it stands.
McFall taking the lead for now on Wareham. We saw Walters drop back. He's had a mistake earlier on in the lap. Tim Walters, that is, in the number 66. He's continued on his way, but he has lost time and places. And you can just see McFall ahead of Wareham. You can see Wareham not leaving him any room as he bum jobs his way through turn 1.
Yeah, no room to be left, and no sort of relaxation for anyone. This is not like Long Beach where our leaders ran away and they were able to breathe and just stay nice and calm and comfortable. Let's check out what happened to Tim Walters here. It looks like Tim Walters possibly getting caught up with a couple of other drivers. That's the number 21 of Scott Bell just behind there, and it looks like that was on his own, actually on the inside curb, just kind of bumping around, and thankfully rejoins, no issues there, but losing several positions, but able to get back going underway.
Yeah, so he's still in the races, Tim Walters, but he's got only just over 7 minutes to rescue his race in this heat before we have the 25-minute feature race to come up later. And now we're looking at a battle involving Mark Brown, and ahead of him are Curtis Matthews and Scott Bell in the fight for 9th place. I wonder how this is going to settle.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this one settles out. They've been pretty feisty with each other this entire race. And again, Curtis Matthews, I do want to apologize for having your name as Chris on the last race. However, I will say that when he messaged me to tell me, he told me everyone has a different name for him that is not family friendly or appropriate for this channel, and I was not given permission to use that name. So we will stick with our name of Curtis Matthews here. Curtis getting passed by Mark Brown. Mark Brown now trying to set something up around the outside. Curtis is going to try to force it through the inside. Do they go 3 wide on the end? Oh, and there's a big moment with Scott Bell going around, and that's actually going to spin him into the pit lane. And Scott Bell, unfortunately, that is his race done, dusted over. He is gone. Sayonara. See you later. Adios. And here is 3 wide back in the back of the pack here. That is going to be Walters, Rylands, Matthews, Hadfield that will continue to battle on here with Brown leading the way.
Yep, Brown's in 9th behind Scott Brown, who is in the Pro-Am class. McFall's lead over Wareham, well, it's hardly anything, because Wareham is literally a quarter of a second behind the 371. And so you can see the top two once more coming to Sector 2, or complete Sector 2. We've got the other waltzers going round now. That will be Michael, who is been in the same place where Team Walters had gone off earlier.
And I have a feeling this was not on his own. Let's check out this quick replay, and it's hard to tell if there was contact. Let's bring that back one more time here, see if we can't get a better camera to tell if there was contact. He goes through. Is there contact there with that 382? Just enough. Just enough in the corner to send you around, unfortunately. So for Walters, that's through. That's going to put Matthews in P3 in the AM class there. As it stands, Scott McFall and Dan Wareham have not given up in the battle for the pros, but the pro-ams, look at that gap, 11 seconds there for Kennedy. Kennedy has just taken off.
Yeah, so Kennedy in prime position to win the heat in the pro-am, given there's only two, much to our surprise. But a race is a race, and they've got a race to be getting on. So Kennedy's holding an 11-second margin over Scott Brown. And we are looking at the top two in pro, as Wareham continues to push hard, doing so by running wide.
Yeah, and he's not going to stop doing that. Something has happened with Scott Bell. Scott Bell is now out with 4.5 minutes to go, which is unfortunate to see in this heat. Let's see if we can pick up real quick on what happened to Scott Bell. As soon as McFall and Wareham figure themselves out through the final sweeping right-hander here, and it looks like it is just bumper-to-bumper run. The main straight's going to be where they want to go. Let's check in on Scott Bell here, because Scott Bell is out of this race. He is gone. And what has happened to Scott Bell here, our friend? Well, it looks like into turn one he goes. And he just stops. He just parks it. Never what you want to see.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he needed to do that, but it's his choice at the end of the day. And now the leaders have started their 12th lap. And it looks like we've got 3 more laps of this heat to go, which will make it a 14-lap event. Now, can McFall get through and wear around the outside into turn 2? He will find it difficult to do it there, as much as he is that ambitious to pull an overtake off. He sensibly waits back, and they'll be coming towards the uphill section, or towards where the Budweiser balcony is at. And yeah, you can just see McFall all over the back, waiting for another opportunity, but he's running out of opportunities to take the heat win away from Dan Wareham.
He's going to keep trying. He's going to keep trying, but it's very close here for Scott McFall, and he needs to get that move done on Wareham, and Wareham driving a very, very good defensive class. These two have been neck and neck this entire race, and now we'll continue to sit back and see how this ends. 2.5 minutes left to go. You can see back in the background, that is Parker Hamilton, and that is Kennedy that we're back in your background for a brief moment coming up the hill as our leaders are coming around the sweeper here, the final corner here, as it stands, and it's still going to be Wareham ahead of McFall, holding on to that gap and holding on to that lead. But as they go down the main straight, there's not a lot of slipstream in these cars, but there is just enough. When you get a long run like this, it can make a difference for you. So we'll jump on board here and look at how close Scott McFall is going to get going into the braking zone, and you see he thought about a dive, but he's going to instead just hold the pressure nice and tidy, and there's the move that you want to get there to the outside. Can he make it stick around the long way? He's going to look for it. He's going to hold on to it. He's going to hold on to it. Does he have the grip to hold this line, though? Well, doggone it, he's trying, but he just can't make it stick there. And they come around yet again, deep on the brakes, deep on the brakes. No, he brakes earlier going into the uphill section and not able to get the pass done. But McFall is doing everything right. I just worry he might run out of time.
Yeah, I think he may get a good run into turn number 1, but we'll see the next time they come onto the pit straight, which will be the start of their final lap. Where maintaining the advantage with McFall is the one that's not going to be given up by any means. We've got a class battle between Matthews, Walters and Hadfield for 3rd, 4th and 5th. And this is pretty much the only other battle that's happening, and we'll stay with it as Wareham and McFall are about to duel it out until the checkered flag.
And they'll come around. This should be the white flag being waved for them here as they come through the sweeper and they go down the main straight here. You see they're neck and neck as they go past the pit entry line. And there is Barney on the right side of your screen with the white flag. White flag is out. This is going to be our final opportunity for McFall. McFall now gets a run side by side up the inside going into turn 1, and he is going to settle that one in, but is Wareham going to go silently into the night? He is not, because he's going to look for a deep dive up the inside there into turn 2, not able to make that pass happen there. And he is going to have to settle in behind. He's got 3/4 of a lap to make this one stick if he can, and all that McFall has to do is just drive nice and smooth. Wareham going to look to the outside, not able to make the pass happen. They go uphill, and it looks like Wareham might have lost it here.
Yeah, and I think Waren's going to have to settle for second place. McFall on course for the win, starting from pole. And he's very much had to fight for this one, and he's about to complete the job. You can see 10 seconds running down now. This is the last lap. They're almost coming up to the back of a back marker here, which is John Kenny, but I think he's well and truly out of the way.
Yeah, they're catching John Kenny, but I don't think Kenny will come to effect. Sweeper for the final time. And the question is, does Wareham have anything left in the tank to get this pass done? We've seen it take pretty much the entire straight to get a pass done here. If you have the momentum and you see Wareham really trying to hold on to it, that GR86 going up on 3 wheels, holding on to it. We come down the main straight. Checkered flag is out. You see the lights flashing. The wipers are on. And it does look like Dan Wareham will take second place over Scott McFall. He gets the pass done on the final lap. He holds on to it now. Pro-Ams, Neil Kennedy will be bringing it across the line here. And there's Stephen Parker Hamilton. Not too far off the mix as well, as we see through Neil Kennedy there. And Stephen Parker Hamilton will actually bring it ahead of Neil Kennedy, the AM driver, leading out the Pro-Am driver as they stand. And then back in the background, let's pick up on this mixed battle of action that was happening here with Hadfield and Walters. You see they come through, and I believe that is their lap done. If we can pick up on them, that was someone very wide. That was, of course, going to be Tim Walters, Michael Walters right here in the background, side by side with Vester. By milliseconds, they're going to come across the line. Who's ahead? It does look like it is going to be Michael Vester. By 0.05, they'll come across the line.
That was a nice, I would say, a nice drag race to the line. We're just waiting for Atkinson and Kenny to make their way over the line. It wasn't too bad of a race. We saw battles all the way through. Hopefully in the feature race that is coming up shortly, we're not going to be seeing too many collisions, because I think there was a little bit too much, don't you think?
There was, and it all stems back to this one big moment with Mark Brown on lap 3. That is really where it kind of everything kicked off, was that one moment. And then, you know, you can't do a lot to avoid there, but then 1 turned into 2, turned into 3, and there was a lot of, you know, side-by-side bumps and different things going. I don't know. We'll see how it pans out in the second race as we go back to our warm-up session here. We will have 5 minutes on the clock now, and this is going to be a good time for all of the drivers to relax and breathe and take a quick break, grab some water, something to drink, and sort of get their thoughts in order.
Yeah, I should think so. And a lot of drivers will be wanting to forget about that heat, actually, because it was a bit of a... It was almost a bit of a, I don't want to say crush fest, but it just looked like pushing a little bit too hard, and just sort of remembering that the race is not won in the early stages, you know, and they've got 25 minutes more of racing today, and the last thing they want to be doing is just getting their elbows out straight away.
Yeah, and, you know, when you're running in very, very close competitive racing like this, you do have to be careful, and you've got to balance it very, very well between being aggressive, being, you know, feisty, for a good phrase there, and between, you know, pushing a little too hard, going a little too far, and, you know, ultimately ruining your race and someone else's. Everyone kind of has that line that they can pick, and sometimes it just doesn't work out as well as they want it to. So we'll see if drivers can dial back that 1% to 2% to keep some more close action here. I have a feeling they will, but really, it all starts with this being right here, Ryan Dudley.
Well, at least Dudley's putting on a bit of a show in the pit lane. I don't think it's particularly legal, if that was in real life, to be doing donuts like that. But I think at the end of the day, he's trying to put on the show for the fans who have turned up.
Yeah, I think this is Dudley's way of unwinding, if I have to be honest with you. I think this is his way of sort of just relaxing. You have Curtis Matthews here too, who is just pacing his way around. He's not really putting in, he's not heavy on the throttle. He's not really doing anything crazy. He is just going nice and slow through. And to be honest, this is what I usually do. If there's a warm-up session between heat and feature, I usually just go and do some fairly relaxed laps. Nothing, nothing too crazy, but just enough that it helps me unwind a little bit and get comfortable.
Curtis Matthews is trying to push ever so hard there, but although he won't want to ride those bankings too hard in the race later. You can just see he's trying to learn the circuit a little bit. I don't know how much practice he's had prior to us going on air. It looks like he's just trying to find the limits as to where he can find the time at. And then hopefully he'll remain out of trouble for when the race comes up later in a couple of minutes' time. And there is the scenery of Willow Springs. And yeah, it's not a heavily attended event because I don't think it's hosting any form of racing now.
I can't think off the top of my head. I was looking pre-broadcast at what this is hosted, and I'm gonna look again really quick because the power of Google really, really helps. It's north of LA. It's the oldest permanent road course. What does it host now? It's hosted Can-Am in Group 4. Yeah, I can't tell what it actually still hosts. It is currently for sale if anyone is interested in buying Willow Springs Raceway. It went for sale in June, so if you're interested in buying a racetrack, that could be your option, and it appears it was listed for $500,000. US, of course. So,
well, I mean, if you are thinking of buying a racetrack, you better think about what you're going to do with it in terms of infrastructure and in finding the investment. And it requires corporate sponsorship to get events like NASCAR or IndyCar to come to this circuit. I don't know if they have done in the past, but that just tells you about the motorsport industry in regards to finding funding from everywhere you can get it from.
you're not wrong. Who is that in the background? Is that Dan Wareham? I'm just gonna very politely let this one play out for how it happened. He runs off track. Okay. Bounce. Slide. Bounce. When did he go up in the... There it is. I didn't know GR86s could fly like this. I did not know that GR86s could fly like this. This is impressive.
I would not advise doing that in real life if you ever consider doing that around Willow Springs.
Yeah, no, I would not do this at all, but seems like the drivers were enjoying themselves, which is really what the warm-up session should be for them. And now we get back on the grid here, and if you are wondering where our grid is at, well, let's bring it up one more time really quick. So Sean Atkinson will find his way up into the lead after our reverse top six. Sean Atkinson and Elaine McCain, P1, P2. Neil Kennedy will be leading in the Pro-Ams. They're in P3. Stephen Parker Hamilton in 4th place. Dan Wareham in P5. Scott McFall in P6. Ryan Dudley in 7th. Scott Brown in 8th. Mark Brown in 9th. Lee Rylands in 10th. Curtis Matthews, Adrian Hadfield will bring us around through the rest of the grid here. And it is Tim Walters, Michael Vester, Michael Walters, Terry Atkinson, John Kinney, Scott Bell, Stuart Brierley. 19 cars to bring us some action here as we get set up on our grid. Big question of the day. Who takes it overall? And that is the question I don't have the answer for, but we'll find out in 25 minutes time as we are green. We are underway, and at the moment it is going to be Sean Atkinson up there in the lead with Elaine McCain for company there, P1, P2. Stephen Parker Hamilton, you see him there in the gray car with the American flag there. in the mid-pack trying to find something, and through turn 1 it is McCain who will get ahead of Atkinson. Wareham there, Sean Atkinson trying to just play nice and polite here. 3 wide we go through turn 2, and it is going to be Atkinson trying to hold that inside line. Middle line there is McFall, and to the outside is going to be the 371 of McFall. Wareham in the middle, actually.
Yeah, there's been an incident. Yeah, there's been an incident at the back as well involving, well, it's like Kennedy's been involved as well as Kenny and Scott Brown. Scott Brown's just getting back onto the circuit now. He's been a long way off, actually. And, yeah, he's caught in trouble. And there is Curtis Matthews. We feared he might get involved in some form of incident. And that's exactly what he's been involved in. So he's just trying to get back in the race without taking anyone else with him. And, yeah, he's just getting up to speed there. So you can see Scott Brown making his way through ahead of John Kenny, and he'll just be determined to salvage something from this race.
Yeah, and as quickly as it could be, Scott McFall back up into the lead here before we even finish lap 1 with Elaine McCain in P2 and Dan Wareham P3. Ryan Dudley in 4th place. We'll have to keep our eyes on him as we go through. Let's take a look at some of those lap 1 incidents here as they happen, and we will go back. Let's start out with this John Kenny incident, and we'll look here from the blimp cam and up in the front. That is really where that started with Scott Brown and Stephen Parker Hamilton. Let's get a better angle of what happened, because it looks like this is really where it popped off. Let's start out with Scott Brown here, and you can see that actually it happened ahead of him with Stephen Parker Hamilton going off, and then that sends Scott Brown off into the Shadow Realm. So let's go up here and check out what happened to Stephen Parker Hamilton. He was going side by side, and he comes through, gets a little tap there, sends him to the inside, and he tries to hold on to it, gets on, can't catch it, comes out with Kennedy, sends Scott Brown around, and that is really where some of those big moments go. And John Kenny, it had a moment, and it was just him braking to avoid everything else. And then Curtis Matthews, what happened to you, my friend? Well, you've got a gaggle of 6 cars here, little bump there from the number 5. Back in the background, someone went way off. That's Terry Atkinson. And then Curtis Matthews, it looks like, started to spin and then got some help the rest of the way around.
Yeah, and it's been a messy first lap for some of the drivers. And 2 drivers not taken to the start, actually, for the main race. Tim Walters and Stuart Briley. Those are the 2 who have elected not to be involved, which is a bit of a shame. But back at the front, we've got McFall, who started 6th on the grid. And he's found himself straight into the lead before lap 1 is done. And he's made his way around lap number 2 without any drama. And we're looking at the battle for 7th place between Lee Rylands and Michael Vester. Adrian Hadfield is not too far back either. And the other Walters of Michael is in on the chase as they come towards the Castrol corner for the 3rd time here in the feature.
And look at how feisty these guys are. They're pushing really hard. 21 minutes left to go, and you would think this is the final lap. It's back in the background. That is Neil Kennedy spinning way off into the grass there, and into the dirt, and we'll go back and check that one out here in just a moment for what happened to Neil Kennedy, because that was a big off at the moment. Vester trying to hold off Hadfield, and this is a battle for P2 in class. They go and hard on the brakes down the inside. Michael Vester wants to hold on, and Hadfield wants to get a pass done if he can. It looks like he is not going to be able to, and it looks like it is going to be Michael Vester holding on and sticking to the back of the Rylands. Let's look at what happened when Neil Kennedy just then off in the back of our screen, and that is Neil Kennedy. That is going to be Scott Bell he has for company, and, well, light bump with Scott Bell, and then the car just caught traction and sent it off into the grass.
Yeah, is Neil Kennedy off the track then, and it's going to be falling behind Scott Brown in the race in Pro-Am. Well, we're looking at the Battle for Pro. We've got the top 5, all of which being pro drivers in the chase here. As we can see, we're in under threat now from Elaine McCain, Ryan Dudley and Mark Brown on the next 2, chasing after the same achievement as what the top 3 are going for.
It'll be interesting to see how this battle shapes up at the front. McFall, Wareham, McCain, Dudley, Brown, your top 5 all separated by just a few seconds here as they continue along. You can see back in the background Ryan Dudley getting feisty with Mark Brown as they go through. These are teammates that are battling as we watch there in the Simtech team, and they gotta be a little polite with each other. The golden rule: don't wreck your teammate. If you can avoid it, don't wreck your teammate, and that is what we are trying to make sure doesn't happen there, as Dudley has gotten ahead of Brown and will now set his sights on a podium place. Elaine McCain not too far ahead as they go through there. A little further back, let's check in on the battle for the podium in the pro. And little Lee Rylands is around.
Yeah, and he's gone for another spin there. Has Lee Rylands having a miserable race so far, and with him is who's that that's just come together with him there? That's Adrian Hadfield, also going around Budweiser balcony, and you can see Michael Waltz is also having some shenanigans of his own. So yeah, they were once again just getting a little bit too carried away, some of these, and we're about to see a replay of Lee Rylands going for the move on the inside, which he's entitled to do, but it's the curb. That's what... Well, no, it's not the curb. He's just lost it by himself.
And then something happened up ahead of him there. So Lee Rylands defending, loses it on his own. This is going to be Adrian Hadfield's perspective. So he sees that battle happening, and he's going through, and then this is Hadfield to the inside. He's trying to avoid Michael Vester, and Michael Vester just comes around, goes through, and who was that was up in the air? That was Michael Walters, all the way into the hay bales.
Yeah, and that was Michael Walters doing a little bit of 2 wheels off the ground there. I can't remember what it's called actually, but I know there's some stunt drivers that do some stunt work involving cars like that on 2 wheels, and there's Terry Atkinson going for a spin off the track, but he'll rejoin from there, no problem. Thanks to the ridiculous amount of runoff area of which can be used and not a lot of safety barrier.
It is very nice to see this much runoff area. It does make things a little bit easier, honestly, as it goes, and I do like seeing tracks that have a little bit more breathing room like this. Like, Long Beach is nice, don't get me wrong, but if you make even a microscopic millimeter error, you're done, you're out. Your car's totaled. Tracks like this, they give you a bit more opportunity for catching your mistakes and going through, and I like this a lot better as we watch Parker Hamilton here, who is battling with one Mr. Scott Bell, and this is going to be the battle for P2 in the AM class. As they come down, and it does look like Stephen Parker Hamilton will hold on to that. He's got 8.5 seconds, though, to make up on Atkinson.
Yeah, it's a long gap to make up there. So Sean Atkinson having the time of his life at the moment. Not really need to worry about the pro drivers for now. You can see these 3 here, all in the same team of Simtech, and there in the background, who's gone off there? I think that might be Atkinson. Is it Atkinson has gone round?
It was Terry Atkinson yet again. Yet again, Terry Atkinson has sent it around.
It's a shame. Oh, he's had another spin there. He'll want this race to be over. But he's got another 17 minutes to endure. As we look at Dudley, he's got McCain and Brown under threat, under attack. But those 2 of McCain and Brown are in the fight of their own there. Brown nearly losing it. McCain nearly running wide, but they keep their cars on the tarmac. And they'll go to battle once more. Oh, and there's McCain going off circuit. Make sure he rejoins safely, which he does so. But I don't think Brown will like the way he's rejoined back onto the circuit, considering the advantage you might gain there.
Yeah, I would think that McCain would have to serve a slowdown for that, honestly. And I'm kind of shocked he hasn't had to slow down anymore. He's really just holding on to the back of this group and going through. I do want to jump back to the front because a battle for the win is shaping up with 16 minutes to go. It is Scott McFall and Dan Wareham that are going to be looking to battle a little bit. Now, if we can see this battle shape up, last time it was Scott McFall who took the pass into the final lap. Has Dan Wareham learned anything from that? Is he going to stick to the back and then try to pass in about 15 minutes time? Or is he going to look to get this pass done early? We'll see how that shapes up. Back in the back, Elaine McCain, sir, you don't have to take this GR86 off-road. It is okay, I promise. You can keep the car on the track.
The battle raged on for the lead then. McFall and Wareham as they go up the hill once more. And they know that Wareham knows that it's not the place to get an overtake done here. And so he'll just be sitting back, happy to sit back for the time being and wait for the pit straight as Terry Atkinson makes his way into the pits. I think it's game over for him here.
Yeah, I think Terry Atkinson will be outdone, dusted, his race over. The one thing I do want to keep an eye on too with these top two is if they start battling, look who is not too far off the mix here. Ryan Dudley finds himself 2.8 seconds back. The gap is slowly opening, but that gap could just as quickly close. So if these two start scrapping it out and going a little bit too competitive, does that produce a problem for them that Ryan Dudley shows up? And we know Ryan Dudley is very feisty and he will push his way into a pass if he needs to, and well, we don't want to see that with the top three. We got to keep our eyes on that as they go. Ryan Dudley running a little bit wide in the background as I say that, and going for all of the track he can, but the top two continuing to pull out a gap. The gap now 3.2 seconds in the matter of about 15 seconds. So they are very much putting down pace as they can. Wareham, I thought he was going to look for the move. McFall left the door open, but it goes to show that Mr. Dan Wareham is showing a little bit of patience, a little bit of restraint as we go.
Yeah, and rightly so. Wareham knows that there's still a lot of time remaining in this race, whereas Mark Brown, he thinks that there is an opportunity appropriate enough for him to go through on Ryan Dudley, and that is him through into third place and onto the pro podium as we speak. The lead in the AM class involving Sean Atkinson and Stephen Parker Hamilton, the gap is now it's something like 9 seconds, isn't it? As Terry Atkinson has had his own melodies. They're nearly holding the leaders up, though, which is not ideal. He sensibly stays out of it.
Thankfully, he gets just out of the way just in time, but for Brown and Dudley, that would have scared the living daylights out of them a little bit there for Terry Atkinson. But now Terry Atkinson out and is gone and is disconnected. So we'll see what comes of his battle as it sits. I want to check in with Adrian Hadfield here. He's currently P5 in the AMs, and he's trying to battle out with Lee Rylands, the pro, who is sitting P12 overall, P6 in class. And we'll see here if Adrian Hadfield can make a move anywhere. He's going to be trying to. And then, of course, Scott Brown, jump ahead a little bit. He's got Michael Vester there in the AMs just ahead, who's going to be looking for a pass into P9. He wants to get a little bit of separation between himself and Kennedy if he can. He's going to be trying to really get that pass done and get nice and relaxed. It does look like Stephen Parker Hamilton, 9.7 seconds the gap. He's P2 in AMs, so I think for him, unless Sean Atkinson has an error, that is going to be that situation done and dusted for him.
Scott Brown's got Neil Kennedy, who's only a few seconds behind. Brown going for it on Vester. This is at Robert's ear, and that's enough for him to go through on the inside. It should be done and dusted here, and it is so. And unless Vester decides that he wants to have his own back as they go up the hill, but Scott Brown is through up to 9th position on the road. Scott Bell is the next driver ahead.
Yeah, and the gap not too far for that 1.6 seconds. I did think for a second Vester was going to fight that through, but he didn't, thankfully, and left it through. Here is a battle. Wareham trying to look around the outside on Scott McFall if he can make the pass stick. He's not able to here. The Simtech driver MP2, and he is going to settle in single file just behind yet again as we have Brown, Dudley, and McCain back in the background. But Wareham now starting to put the pressure on Scott McFall. He's starting to close in a bit more. This is the closest we've seen him over the past several laps, and we still have 11 and a half minutes to go for this battle to rage on, and really all he's got to do is just stay right there within a stone's throw if he can, and it does look like at the moment he's not going to force the issue, but if he finds the opportunity, he wants to be there to capitalize.
2 battles in pro now, the one for the lead and the other for third place. It looks like Brown and Dudley was going side by side into Robert's ear. It looks like Brown has maintained the high ground and keeps hold of the place. Wareham on the tail of McFall through the balcony, and they're heading down towards the ridge, and it's the sweeper that follows after that. Not a lot of corners that you really need to nail around here, and now we're looking at an aerial view of the drivers heading towards the last part of the racetrack. Scott Brown going through on Scott Bell for 8th place overall. Nice overtake from Brown to make his way through, and that's given a little bit more breathing space over his class rival Neil Kennedy. We say in the battle for third place here, this is Mark Brown ahead of Ryan Dudley, and Elaine McCain is back in the fight.
Man, there's so many battles going on. We've hit this other sort of highlight moment where there's so many battles going on. It's hard to keep up as we see Dudley running wide yet again, and now McCain's going to snake his way through. Let's jump back up here with Wareham and McFall, because they are separated by less than a tenth here as they go into turn 1, and it is going to be Wareham just trying to find that pass if he can. He's going to be there. He's right on the back, and you can see that he's really trying to get that pass, but just not able to capitalize at the moment. As we jump on board here with Dan Wareham, let's see what sort of speeds they're doing through here, because they are going pretty quick. These GR86s, they don't look it necessarily compared to, say, a GT3 or, you know, any sort of other higher end car. These are, of course, the little babies of the GT4s, GT5 category, you could call them. They're the step up from the MX5s here in iRacing. But man, they are feisty, they are fast, they are stiff, and they will give you a run for your money if you let them here. And we can see doing 100 miles an hour coming out onto the back straight here as they head towards the sweeper. He's up to 110, he's up to 115. Does he hit 120? Yes, he does. 121 on the board as he comes into the sweeper. And look at this, he's going to try to just snake it around the outside. McFall's going to leave him room, but also squeeze him just enough. Little door tap, and they both make their way through the sweeper here as it stands.
This fight is far from over, and Wareham all over the back of McFall. Are they going to keep it clean right all the way to the checkered flag? Wareham trying to out-drag McFall into Castrol Corner. He's looking to the outside here. That will give him the inside line for turn number 2, should he be within the car's length alongside. And I think Wareham is going to take the lead here, Brad.
Yeah, and Wareham holding on to it. This might be his biggest chance, his biggest opportunity. Up the inside they go, side by side they go, and they come around out, and here we go. They exit out through, side by side still as we head in. But this is going to turn to the outside, so Scott McFall will have the hard brakes on the inside. Wareham trying to keep just a nose in, but he's not close enough to keep a nose in. He has to give that position back, and McFall will hold on to the lead only just, but Dan Wareham showing that he is a very fierce competitor, and that Scott McFall has his work cut out for him for 8 minutes. I do want to check back in the back, because something has happened with our friend Curtis Matthews yet again. I don't know what's happened here, but I'm showing that he's had a moment. This is going uphill, and you can see ramping the sausage curb up onto 2 wheels. It's not even a sausage curb, just the curb up onto 2 wheels, and the car comes around, and it does look like just a little 360, a little Goodwood style show off for the fans here at Willow Springs.
Curtis Matthews having a really tough time of it. He's running down in 15th position. 3 drivers out of the race so far. Kennedy came into the pits for some reason. He's now down in 14th place, but at least he's still in the event. And it's given Scott Brown even more of a cushion to take the Pro-Am victory tonight. Got over 7 minutes to go. We're probably looking at around 17 laps here. This is the battle for the race lead. McFall and Wareham going through turns 1 and 2. Wareham not alongside like he was, say, on the previous lap.
Yeah, he's a bit further back there, and you can see that he's really just trying to hold on. He's trying to find a different strategy to make work here if he can, and this time he's going to be along the outside. Hold the outside. Outside will turn into the inside, but he's not close enough to hold the outside as they go through. But you see, he's trying different lines. He's trying to get the overspeed on exit if he can. That is really what he's trying to look for, but he's not able to. I do want to jump back here. Michael Vester is putting some pressure down on Stephen Parker Hamilton. This is the battle for P3 in the AMs as it stands, and Kennedy into the pits again. Neil Kennedy, I don't know why he's in the pits though, but it looks like Neil Kennedy going into the pits, possibly a track limits issue, incident point issue, I'm not sure, but he is having to pace his way through the pits here nonetheless as we go along. You see these two have opened up a little bit. McFall and Wareham again. Dan Wareham just trying to find a way through if he can. He's really just right in the mix. He's trying. They're close. There's a back marker there ahead, and they are going to need to negotiate that and continue around. That is going to be, I'm not actually sure who that back marker is. It's the number 90. That is Kenny, and Kenny just very politely lets them through.
Well, I think Kenny didn't really let them go through there, and that has totally put Dan Wareham off. And yeah, John Kenny not making it easy for the pair of them to get through. I mean, it should have been well and truly easy for Kenny to just simply move out of the way and not interfere with what they're doing. And I don't think Wareham will be too pleased with how long it took for Kenny to just stay out of the way of them.
Yeah, it's put Wareham on the back foot a little bit, trying to get around Kenny there, and we'll see how that continues through. Stephen Parker Hamilton, Michael Vester, side by side down the main straight they go. Again, this is your battle for P2 in the AMs, and hard on the brakes they stand, and they come around, and it is going to be Michael Vester ahead of Stephen Parker Hamilton. Of course, remember, Stephen Parker Hamilton won the heat, and now in the feature is currently setting P3 after what was some pretty big lap 1 incidents. We continue around. I'm sure that Stephen Parker Hamilton will be pushing his way forward, trying to get the pass done again if he can.
Well, Sean Atkinson has got the AM class victory in his pocket, but the battle for the last 2 places on the podium is far from over. Scott Bell's still in the fight, albeit he's 5 seconds off this, but if these two have their own ding-dong battle that goes a little bit too pear-shaped, then Scott Bell will be there to pick up the pieces, who's also in a fight with Adrian Hadfield.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shapes up as well. We'll jump back here. Adrian Hadfield just putting consistent pressure on Bell, and you see running through and just trying to find some sort of a pass. You can tell that some of the pros have ran a significantly stiffer suspension than some of the other drivers, and I feel like that is helping their speed, but you can tell in the difference between how the cars are bouncing and, you know, kind of going up and down through the track, through the corners. You watch the AMs here go through, and as I say that, Scott Bell just straight off track. All the way off track, all the way in the dirt. Just kind of taking a quick view, and it looks like Scott Bell has called his day done and dusted. But if you look at how the cars are bouncing, though, if you look at McFall and Wareham, the car looks a lot stiffer than a lot of the AM drivers' cars, and I can't tell if that's just a preference or if that is something they've done that is making them faster.
Well, we'll see. There was a battle going on between Parker Hamilton and Vester for second place in the AM class. They're continuing their battle around here. You can see they're getting through on the back marker there. Oh, and it's contact made!
Oh! Big run around there. Stephen Parker Hamilton way off track as they try to negotiate the lapped car, and that was actually, I believe, Rylands who was in the mix. Let's see if we can't jump back and get a quick replay of what just happened there. So that is Rylands, I believe, that they're going through on. It is, and yeah, Michael Vester, again, just the front bumper just sends through. I don't know that he could have done much different, but I do want to see from Michael Vester's point of view what happened there. You see, he's there, he's on the outside, and
he just doesn't notice that he's still there, and that's completely on Vester, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate one, but that puts Parker Hamilton several seconds down on the run. That puts him P5 in class. Now you've got Hadfield, who is now on the back of Vester by 0.7 of a second. But that has really cemented your places in AM. Pro AM, of course, Brown is 1.5 minutes up on Kennedy. Kennedy's had his own moments off and on through this race. There's some more moments happening with our AM leader. Atkinson has had an off, and that is going to mix things up quite a bit if anyone can get close enough to capitalize. But he had such a gap, such a lead on Vester and on the field that it seems like it's not really going to cause a lot of any sort of hargy-bargy issues, because he's, even once he gets going, he's still over 10 seconds in the lead.
Well, we need to go back to the leaders because they are beginning their penultimate lap now, or just about to begin with it. McFall and Warren crossing over the line with 1 minute 38 seconds to go, so they've got 2 more laps to do in this event. Can Warren chase McFall down and snatch victory from under his nose?
It's going to be close. It's going to be real close. I think that he has learned from the first run that he needs to just be close enough to make the difference here. And I think he knows he needs to wait a little bit longer as they come out of the exit. They're running up the hill here. He's going to try to get the pass done somewhere in the final lap. I don't think he's going to try anytime soon. He just wants to set up and be in the right position. But he knows he's going to have one try to get the pass done and out of the way. And Vester has had an off here, it appears. Again, Michael Vester has gone. He's out. He's gone away. I don't have a Michael Vester anywhere that I can see. So a moment there for him. McFall and Wareham, who comes out ahead in this battle? Well, that's the $1 million question. And if you have the answer for it, well, I feel like you should buy a lottery ticket because you're probably pretty lucky today. Here we go with Wareham around the outside, McFall going through, and Tom, they're going to be starting the final lap now. Oh no!
Oh, there's contact!
No, not the contact between the race leaders.
Oh, that's what we didn't want to see. It was a brilliant battle as well. And McFall, who'd done everything right, I just don't think he left Wareham enough room. Heading into the last corner, 1 lap to go. Mark Brown and Ryan Dudley will be closing on this. We'll get a replay of it. I don't think McFall leaves him enough room, you know.
And we watch McFall.
Although, to be fair, Wareham does turn in on McFall when they are within a car's length alongside. I think McFall left Wareham enough room.
Yeah, we'll get one more good angle, and I hate doing the reverse, but I don't want to replay the whole moment over and over. Wareham turns in.
Yeah.
And that's put Dan Wareham in the lead here, but only just... I don't like it. I don't like it, but we'll see if Wareham can hold off Brown and Dudley through this final section here, and we'll see what Mr. Mark Brown can do here, fighting out with Wareham, and Dudley's right there to pick up the pieces if it's needed. We go around the backstretch here, and Mark Brown is going to be right in the mix of everything, and I think Mark Brown will get this pass done on Dan Wareham. It looks like he's going to set to the outside. He's going to sweep back to the inside. He's going to come around. Final corner here. Can he get the pass done? Well, he's certainly going to try.
Well, he'll try, and he'll probably want a drag race to the line, but I think Wareham has got this one done here, pending a steward's investigation involving the collision. But here they come round for the last time.
Yeah, they come through. Wareham flashing the lights. He's trying to hold off Brown. Brown's going to go through. Wareham swerving the wheel. Did it cost him anything? It did not. He wins by 8/100ths of a second. Brown and Dudley coming through. The top 3 separated by just a couple of tenths. Coming through, Scott Brown now coming around the final corner. He is going to be winning in Pro-Am. And who is that right behind him? Well, that is Sean Atkinson. And this is your Pro and your Pro-Am winners who will bring it across the line by just a fraction separating them as well. We go back here and check this out, and just a couple of tenths separate them. They're across the line. And then, of course, Lee Rylands and P8 in the pros will bring it through. And then we have Walters, who will need to come through. Stephen Parker Hamilton, who, again, won the heat. He tried to hold on to the feature. He's got Hadfield right behind him there for company. Or actually, that is Kenny, I apologize. Right there for company, who is getting his way through, holds on, and then Michael Vester right near the back there of Hadfield. That is our field through. Bell is out, and the end of the race being settled by a moment that I'm sure is going to be discussed.
Yeah, I can imagine so. And congratulations to the podium finishes of Wareham, Brown, and Dudley in Pro. In Am, it's Scott Brown and Neil Kennedy, the only 2 from that class. Sean Atkinson winning out in the AMs ahead of Michael Walters and Stephen Parker Hamilton. I'll let you run down on the results, Brad.
Yeah, we pull up our results here. Dan Wareham, the winner of the pros. Mark Brown in P2. Ryan Dudley in P3. Scott McFall led for a large majority of the race and loses it with 1 lap to go. P4 there is it stands for him. Elaine McCain in P5. The winner of the Pro-Am. Scott Brown, as you said there, in P6. Sean Atkinson, P7. Lee Rylands in P8. And Sean Atkinson, of course, the winner of the AMs, in 7th place. Michael Walters in P9. Stephen Parker Hamilton, P10. Adrian Hadfield, P11. Michael Vester, P12. Curtis Matthews, John Kenny. Neil Kennedy is our only other Pro-Am driver. He's all the way down in 15th place. Down a lap, Scott Bell, P16. Terry Atkinson, Tim Walters. And then from there, it was Stuart Brierley, our 19th driver. Tim Walters, Stuart Brierley not taking place in the feature, and Scott Bell and Terry Atkinson DNFing out of this feature race. So 19 drivers entered, 15 finished. I can do math. I can do 19 minus 15, I promise. It happens in the moments. And tell you what, Tom, I know the drivers were saying that Willow Springs was going to be challenging, but I think it brought together some good racing for us here today.
It did, and a lot of incidents and a lot of drama all the way through. And we did see some overtaking, some quality overtaking along with it. And so that brings the curtain down on another round in the Tanso Racing GR86 Championship. And we've got one more round to go at VIP, don't we?
We do, and I think that is going to be a very, very, very good race for them. But this is going to be where we close the curtain on this round 8 of Willow Springs. We're rounding out near the end of the season, and of course, season 11 will be coming at you fast and thick. If you want to sign up for season 11, be sure to check out the Tanso Racing Group, the TH Jordan series here, and join in. This is a great series, great cars with the GR86s. But of course, this is going to be where you have to call the night. Make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bells, do all the fun things here on YouTube for the JP Broadcasting Network. Plenty of racing coming up in the next week. Plenty of racing coming up over the next several months. But of course, on behalf of Tom here, my name is Brad. We've taken you start to finish. Be sure to join us next time where we'll take you start to finish yet again. Good night.